A number of years ago, I built a beam compass using an old Jonathan Haidt's design. And although I do think his design is fine, the way I milled it, it isn't. Because I milled a knot directly into here, and even if I hadn't milled that knot in, this material is very springy. And so what'll often happen is, even before this broke, this washer would fall in and you'd have to fiddle with it, and then you'd have to fiddle with that, and it really didn't work very well. And then once you actually got this in here, the measurement would usually have fallen off by then, so you had to do it like 3 or 4 times. So this design really didn't work for me. And so I've been looking at new compasses I can build, and there's this thing that people refer to as a beam compass. You'll hear it referred to as trammel points or a trammel compass. There's a little apparatus here that will hold a pencil and clamp onto any piece of scrap, and I think that's a really cool design. So I was thinking, why not do the same thing with one of these metal rulers, and then you can also use the increments to draw specifically sized circles. That way I don't have to sit there with calipers measuring my compass. I can just use the increments on here. So that's what I want to do today. And now I worked out that if I have 2 of these blocks that are 1 by 1 by 1 3/4, and then 2 blocks that are 1 by 1 by 1 1/4, that would give me all of the blocking that I need. And I realized I can get all of that out of here, but I want to leave the upper and lower blocks connected at first. So if we do something like 1 3/4 and then 1 1/4, so much blocks, something like that. And then we get ourselves about 2 here. So this is an inch. So we're going to be making this cut and this cut first, and then later on we're going to go ahead and cut these apart. That way I can drill all of my holes accurately between the multiple pieces. Alright, the next ones we're going to do are these 2 off-center holes. Now I need to drill this out wider so that the screw will slip through the top. And then on this top half, we're going to need a screw hole right about there. And I want the screw to come through on this side. We only want this to come in about halfway, like that. There you go. Now that block is done. Okay, so this next part is going to be set to receive a star knob that I'm going to sharpen to a point, and that needs an off-center hole right there. Go all the way through. Now this bolt is a 1/4 inch, so a 1/4 inch bit should make it slip. So the first one here will slip, and the second block will thread on nicely. So that's all I need for the second block, so let's go cut these out. Okay. So, I overshot it a bit. Oh well. That one's exactly straight. Oh, my blade must be crooked. Wow. My blade is not square, that's what's going on. We're 1 here, and about 12, 13 thou under here. So what we want to do is we're going to split that, and we're going to cut a slot at exactly 0.4. That should be pretty adequate. And this one block is going to get a slot right here on the end as well. Okay, that is not how you're supposed to hold that, but it worked very nicely. Okay, so these two pieces here ended up turning out very well. I don't see anything wrong with them yet, but when I was putting this together, I realized that this here isn't actually long enough. I must have mismeasured my bolt, and I don't have any that are longer. So I can either go out and get a new star knob, or I can recess this portion here so that that'll accept into there. And I can trim off this just a little bit. I don't want to trim any more off of this than I need to, because this joint here is liable to crack if I'm not careful. So I have two operations that I want to use with this. One is going to be sharpening it to a point. Grunt, curse word. And the second is to make sure that your camera's recording while you cut this slot in here. This is so that I can cut threads into that second piece of wood. The camera is sometimes helpful for that sort of thing. Okay, we're gonna go to 2.5 inch. That should be 2.5 right there. So at 2.5 inch, this should be exactly 5. Okay, so we are a decent amount under 5. We're at 4.7. Okay, so we were at 4.7 even. 7 divided by 2. So we are currently set to 2.35. We're going to minus 2.5, which is where we want to be. So we are 15th off. And so the way we fix that is we're going to move this over by about 0.15. It should be right about there. And then we can try it again. All right, so doubling the error gives us about 12 thousandths over the size that we want. And so really you can calibrate this thing because of these two screws up here. All you have to do is move this piece over to the side and you can adequately calibrate this to the edge of this piece. So you can really make this thing as accurate as you want. Okay, it's been about 2 weeks since that last shot you just saw. The video is about to go up, and I wanted to show you a couple of changes that I made really quickly before the video goes up. I changed this little piece here. This is the reference edge that I've been using to mark exactly where my measurement is. I changed that to a piece of mahogany so it was easier to see. The second change that I made is I added an extra screw here on this side, and really all that does is act like a little piece of a rebar in the middle of the wood because all of these pieces were camming over because I put both of my screws on the same side. The third thing that I changed was I went out and I got one of these. I got one of these longer rulers. This one is a 16-inch. The one I'm using for the compass is a 12-inch. I had to replace my square anyway, but if I ever wanted to put the pieces of the compass on here, I could do something as large as a 32-inch circle. I don't think I'm ever going to need to do that because this one does as high as 24-inch diameter circle. The only other thing that I would suggest changing if you were going to build one of these is to use something like a mechanical pencil like I have on this manual compass. And that's mostly because that when you actually do sharpen one of those, it's going to be messing with your calibration because it's really hard to get these exactly accurate every single time. So it's always going to be slightly different. However, on mine, I decided to use one of my grandpa's pencils just for my own reasons. But this really is a project that I would suggest everybody should tackle at one point or another. It doesn't matter which design you're going to use, but these beam compass style compasses work so much better than these old style because most of these work based on friction. I know there's a couple of different designs out there. Jonathan Heitz has built one. I know Matthias Wandel says his is better. But to tell you the truth, because mine can measure the diameter of the circle or the radius of the circle, I would argue mine is better than both of theirs, and this is the one you should build. So someone should probably go tell those guys they lost. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. Catch y'all next time.